Well, hello, friends and fellow adventurers. Let's continue Fless's story. Now, I just want to start off this episode by saying Happy Halloween, because actually, while I'm recording this, it is Halloween evening. And my wife is actually out of town, and I'm, well, antisocial. So this is my Halloween plans. I'm going to keep it standard length today, so let's just jump right into it and see how far we can get and build off of what we have so far. When I stopped last time, let's just review my little crappy notes here. Just make it a little bit bigger, good enough, whatever. So Fless was sent by Vane, the goblin kind of desk clerk at the appraisal shop, which, yes, that's what I want to do. I want to figure out a name for that appraisal shop, and that is going to be the first thing we do. But yes, Fless was sent here to collect a debt of, 92 gold, but here, where she was sent, is a brickyard, or like a kiln. They probably do more than bricks, I would say, or some types of earthenware. Anything that requires like firing of clay, ceramics, that kind of stuff. So we stopped as Fless saw the smokestacks off in the distance, and she knew exactly where she was. She was in the right place that Vane had described, and she walked down the road up into the entranceway and stopped at the desk to talk to the desk clerk. Now let's find a name for that, the appraisal shop, the headquarters of the Lamashton cult here in Swanvane. Almost forgot the name of the city, Swanvane. All right, how are we gonna go about this? A name for an appraisal shop. Okay, let's see. I think something that kind of pays homage to Lamashtu, but it's not straight on the nose. I don't know, something related to the jackal, maybe a golden jackal appraisal. Because Lamashtu's favorite colors are maybe the crimson jackal. Jackal might be a little too on the nose, but this is a fantasy setting. I'm not trying to put too much logic into it, because obviously, Lamashton worship isn't outlawed here, I wouldn't say. She is not necessarily an evil god, so, she is actually technically an evil god, but the crimson jackal appraisals? I like that. Okay, the Crimson Jackal appraisals. That is the name. All right, so let's undo that, and Crimson Jackal appraisals. Cool. I spelled jackal wrong. How do you spell? Oh, A-L, not E-L. Crimson Jackal appraisals. I like that. Alright. Now, we are still on the scene. Fless walks up to the front desk clerk, and she just kind of hisses in her elderly voice. Did I start this last time? I feel like maybe I didn't. I don't know. I get my sessions, they flood together a little bit just because my brain is in so many places at once. I can't keep my thoughts straight. Fless looks at the clerk here, and she's,
so I'm here to collect a debt for the Crimson Jackal appraisals.
Does the person behind the desk, do they know anything about this? Because, we're sent to collect a debt. I think it is more of like a specific person's debt, not necessarily this company, because of that, I don't see how that would make any sense. So we'll make it unlikely. Does this clerk know anything about this debt? on an unlikely. A 51 is a no. So the poor person at the desk. Let's draw a card and find out who they are. Cut the deck, pull the bottom card. Oh my gosh, another little goblin. Man, this whole story is just full of goblins, but I'm okay with that, honestly. So a little male goblin sits behind the desk here, which, again, sorry, I'm already getting off on tangents, but I like how the goblins are popping up in the places that they are popping up, because I feel like goblins would be used for some of kind of the lower rung positions, you know what I mean, such as like front desk clerk or something. But I mean, Vane though, she has a very a high quality job. You know, she needs to be very well educated and very well trained to do her job. So that doesn't necessarily apply to her. Regardless, huge side tangent. The little goblin man at the counters.
I don't know what you mean, but I have heard of the appraisal store, but we here at the not the Shaylin, the Swanbane Brick and Company don't have any outstanding debts to them. Would you? I can go talk to my boss real quick. Hold on.
And he goes off, and Fless just kind of like stands around waiting in the lobby area. A few minutes go by, and the goblin comes back. Is he accompanied by the manager? 50-50. Is he accompanied by the manager? A 60 is a no. So he just comes back on his own accord, and well, actually, the boss. Does the boss know about this? I'm gonna make that very likely, so we can get some steam kind of building in this session. Did the manager know anything about this debt? Very likely. Ooh, a 33. Yes, he does, and that's a random event. Perfect. I was honestly had my fingers crossed for that, so that worked out really well. All right, let's get that random event going, but let's get that little note marked down real quick. Okay, so let's roll that random event real quick. Let's roll the event focus, which is going to be 35. 35 on the event focus is an NPC action. All right. An NPC action means that we need to go to our adventure list and roll on the characters list to see which NPC takes an action. So we have, it looks like, I'll roll a d4 and that'll tell us which column to choose from, or which section. A 4, okay, so that's only going to leave Vane and the voices in Fless's head. Interesting, okay. And then with that, it's only going to be... Alright, there's only going to be 2 options. Again, let's roll another d4. A 1, so that is Vane, the goblin. Okay, a random event. Huh, this is interesting. A random NPC action. So we will roll on the actions table, and this roll will decide what Vane, the appraiser at the appraisal shop, is gonna do. The action she's gonna take. A 25. Create. And a 17. Create cooperation. Okay, a random event. NPC action. Vane is creating cooperation. The camera does cut to Vane in the Crimson Jackal. But Vane is sitting at her desk looking at her books, and she's doing the appraisal of one of the items on her to-do list, when all of a sudden she just kind of drops the item. She looks up, as if you can see the gears kind of turning in her head. She stands up from her desk, she turns around, and she walks down one of the hallways, and she goes downstairs into the basement. And we see her. We can't see where she's walking towards exactly, but we see her walking down a row of cages, it looks like, and she stops, she kneels down, she smiles, and she says, "Yes, this will work perfectly." And boom, we cut back to Fless. The goblin explains to Fless that yes, the manager does know about this debt. Now, is the debt owed by the manager? 50-50. Is the debt owed by the manager? 82, no it is not. So it's not the manager, but the manager knows who. It's an employee that works at the brickyard here. And he does know. But I'm not even going to roll for this. I kind of like how this is going. So sorry, I lost my train. I'm thinking about a few different things at once. So the clerk, the little goblin man, he says, "Well, the manager would like to talk to you about this." And so Fless nods, and she follows the goblin over, and he takes her to the office of the manager. She steps inside, and she sees a big, fat man puffing on a cigar behind a desk. Human. He's got a big beard, balding head, but he's got really long, kind of salt and pepper hair along the sides, but the whole top of his head is just bald as a cue ball. And he kind of puffs on the cigarette and he pulls it out. So you were inquiring about my employee. You're from the Crimson Jackal, I heard. Well, I do know about that debt. But you see, the problem is, honestly, I'd love to just throw him your way and feed him to the dogs, but he's rather worthless on a good day. But here lately, he's been less than worthless because he hasn't been showing up. And as much as I dislike the lad or lass, I don't know. That's their opinion. They are very punctual. They have never missed more than a day. And it's going on 4 days now. And no show. So, not only does he owe you money, but now he owes me money. Because the days he doesn't work and he doesn't feed those kilns the coal, we lose productivity. And that affects my bottom line. And that affects my attitude. Now, that being said, if I take it you have a knack for finding people, if that's how you got here in the first place, and that's good chance of why the appraisal shop even hired you. If you can find this man, find out what happened to him, hopefully he's alive, and get him back to work so I can meet my deadlines, see? I will make it worth your while. Fless kind of draws her hood back a little bit because she's had her hood up this whole time. She kind of pulls it down off her head.
That sounds like a deal, but what kind of gold are we talking here?
For the return of this worker, you seem worthless to you anyway. What is it worth to this man? Let's just roll a D100. Ooh, 100 exactly. Okay. Tell you what, this shipment needs to get out on time, and if it does, I'm gonna make a big, pretty sack of gold, you know what I mean? I'll pay you 100 gold if you can get him back here tonight. Not, and well, I guess that is only dependent on if he's even still alive. He may not be alive, I don't know. If he's not alive, okay, look, the 100 gold is yours. If you bring me a worker that can shovel coal into a kiln that doesn't require much, right? And I could probably even start off a new guy with less money. But you see, we're in the poor district here. Everybody either doesn't want to have a job or they already got one. So, the labor is very important here. So either find this man or find me a worker. By the end of the day, and 100 gold is yours. Fless.
That sounds very reasonable. I accept your offer, man.
So, all that I just made up. Let's see. All right, so maybe if she doesn't get it done by the end of the day, the amount will go down a little bit. Maybe cut in half. They didn't discuss that. Maybe they do discuss that. We're not going to get down into that granular detail, although I am very bad at granular details. Okay, so Fless accepted the quest, basically. That's what we got. We got a side quest now. Speaking of me saying that, okay, Stop the Shade Alliance is our main quest, but right now, collect the debt of 92 gold is one option, and now we have another thread, which is find worker for brickyard, because that kind of covers both bases. The worker, the one that is missing, or just a brand new one. Okay. Which, chances are, we're just going to find this guy, or maybe they're dead. I don't know. That's the whole point of this whole entire thing. Okay. So. Fuss agrees, and she heads out. She knows she needs a lead. Something. Okay, she probably continued to talk before she left to the manager and asked any information they had on the possible whereabouts, or where he lived, maybe. Yes, okay, so let's just say that. I'm not even going to roll for that, because if it comes up a no, I'm just boxing myself in a corner, and I need to get better about which yes and no questions I ask. So, Fless did get the address for this worker man, and let's say that Fless is going to does Fless, let's ask that real quick. We'll keep this momentum going. I'm trying to work on my pacing. I say that, I think, in every video I ever make. Okay, so does Fless, I'm gonna make this 50-50. Does Fless go straight to the residence of the worker? If it comes up a no, then she's going to go back to the Crimson Jackal and talk with them there about her next steps. So, does Fless go to the address given by the manager? 39, yes she does. Okay, so she leaves the brickyard. The house is actually not far from where they are. So I'm thinking that, I know I said the brickyard was somewhere in the south here, but I'm thinking that the brickyard, it would make a lot more sense if the brickyard was right next to the river, because they would be getting large shipments of very heavy clay, and to kind of cart that in, I feel like would be more difficult. And also clay can be found close to water, so chances are there's just like a clay farm, as funny as that sounds, just kind of like north of here along this same river. So they just kind of they cut the clay, they mold the clay, and they ship the clay down the river straight to the brickyard here, the brickery. I don't think brickery is a word, but it sounds cool. Regardless, so the resident of this worker is not far from here, so maybe just a little east. Fless has a little bit of trouble finding it. Maybe let's use that handy dandy character sheet that we never use, and let's actually use Fless's dice this time. She is going to make another. Should it be perception or society? We'll make it. Perception is a little worse than her society. We'll just go society. That makes sense. And again, she has the directions to the place, so I think it is very easy. We will just make it a 10. So I mean, she does have a chance to fail, but it's a low chance. Yeah. So this is Fless's society roll on finding this residence. Wow, and she failed. The only way she was failed was a 4 or lower, and she failed on a 3. Okay, so Fless failed. And that doesn't mean she doesn't find the residence, but that does mean it takes her a bit longer than she wanted it to. So it was morning time, and even though it was only a few blocks away, Fless looked and looked, and she walked around in circles. She's too stubborn to ask anybody around, like, where is 501 East Bugbear Street? So she's walked around in circles, and then she finally realized that, it's somewhere in one of these narrow alleys. It's not directly off of the road, so it takes her until about noon. We'll say that Fless heads straight to the address given by the manager. It takes her longer than expected. Noon rolls around, and Fless finally finds the apartment. Sure. Alright, so Fless finally finds the apartment. She knocks on the door. I'm not gonna roll. I was gonna roll to see if anybody answers. Screw it. Actually, let's ask it. I'll say it's very unlikely. Does anybody answer? A 46. No, they do not. That makes sense. So Fless does not hesitate. She is going to check the door. Is the door unlocked? If not, then we might do our first Pathfinder lockpicking, which might take me a second to get. So, is the door locked? We'll say that's 50-50, right? 54, no. That is just barely a no. So, the door is unlocked. Fless kind of wiggles the latch. It's unlocked. She seems a bit surprised. She kind of looks around. The light from the noon sun is kind of beaming straight down. She looks down the alley both ways. Again, this is a narrow alley. Maybe a couple other doors along the way here. So she pulls her hood up. She keeps one hand on her rapier, and she uses her other hand and slowly pushes in this flimsy wooden door. She peers inside, and she sees normal apartment things: chair, a small table. This is maybe just a 2-room. Like there's a bedroom area, and then there's a kitchen area. Off to the right is the kitchen area, is where she sees the table and the chair, and she sees a couple cupboards, all closed up. And to the left, she sees a small bed, a little chest, a wardrobe, and a small bookshelf for reading things. Obviously, I didn't need to describe what a bookshelf is. Is there anything? So Fless just kind of begins looking around. She checks for like papers, notes, signs of a struggle, anything like that. Is there anything in here to give Fless a clue as to where this man went? I'm gonna say that it is very likely. Again, I don't want to box myself out of progress by asking stupid yes or no questions. But is there anything? So Fless searches the place. She kind of like turns it upside down, more or less. And very likely, is there anything here to give Fless an idea of where this man went? 83. Ooh, that is still a no. There is not. And Fless is very certain that she turned this place upside down. So I'm going to take that to mean, and Fless is also going to take that to mean, that this man hasn't been home since he's been missing. She checks the food. There's no fresh bread. The bread is stale, multiple days old. So nobody has been in this apartment in days. So Fless is, again, I boxed myself into a corner. I'm really good at that, but that is where we learn some critical thinking, right? All right, so Fless hit a dead end here with this search, and she wasted a lot of time doing so by finding this apartment, and there is nothing here. That sucks. So Fless has half a day to find this man or a new worker to get her reward. So feeling frustrated, Fless just kind of kicks the table over, breaks the chair. She goes and finds a couple books, and she just tears a couple of pages out of the books. This is a little bit out of frustration and a little bit out of just like the necessity to bring disorder to things that are in order. That's her Lamashton mentality here. Okay. So Fless decides to head back to the Crimson Jackal to discuss with maybe Vane or perhaps York kind of where she's at with this kind of debt collection. So that, I think, is a perfect spot to end it as well. Now, I tell you what, I will touch on this. I really wish that there was one roll that was different. I wish when I had rolled the NPC that took the action, I wish it was Fless's voices in her head instead of Vane, because I could have played that slightly differently, and kind of could have came to not the conclusion, but came to the consensus, if that's the right word, that I saw in my head before this. But regardless, that was a side tangent. Let's move on to Fless approaching again. The sun high in the sky is moving ever closer to that western sky, and Fless opens the door and she goes inside. It's surely, I'm not even going to roll for this. My brain just tells me to roll for every single thing that happens. But Vane is sitting at the front desk, and she looks up, and she kind of smiles. Not like a happy, oh hey, great, it's Fless smile, but just like a familiar face kind of smile, because she does feel a little bit of comfort knowing that the religion is the same between her and Fless here. So she kind of gives us a side grin, and she says, welcome back, Fless. And she says Fless in a way that kind of tells you she's certain that's her name, but that leaves a little room for, oh, maybe this wasn't her name, because they've only met that one time. So it's good to see you again, Fless. Were you able to collect the debt from the man that works at the brickyard?
Well, no, actually. I thought I was going to be able to do that. I sought out the man. He apparently has not shown up for work in several days. So I talked to the manager, got his address, and I went to investigate his place. But you see, he had not been there. Not, I would say. I searched the place top to bottom. He had not been there since he went missing. So I would bet that he was abducted after he left work that evening, whatever evening that may have been. So I'm at a bit of a loss. The manager said that whatever. That part doesn't matter.
She's not going to tell Vane. That's unimportant information. That's her mission. It has nothing to do with the Crimson Jackal. So, but finding this and getting this debt back does.
So I thought maybe perhaps there is some type of, I don't know, like something with the clan, the cult here that could help me with this.
And ooh, this actually works. I really like this. I just put 2 and 2 together. So it kind of did come out all together. Vane smiles as she kind of her eyes are kind of smiling as she's like, well, that I think I can help you in that department, actually. You see, and she just wait here 1 second. I will be right back. And Fless just kind of nods and stands there. She's kind of like looking at the relics and things on the wall and all these different little knickknacks all over the place. When she hears Vane approach, and she hears another set of footsteps with Vane. And she quickly turns to see Vane has come up from downstairs and is now standing in the lobby. And next to Vane, sitting on the floor, is a goblin dog. Not only a goblin dog, but a 3-legged goblin dog. And that is where we are going to stop today's session. And I'm going to actually level Fless up between now and next session, and I'm going to add her the Beastmaster dedication, which is going to give her an animal companion. Guess who? Yes, this goblin dog. So thank you guys so much for watching if you did, and as always, please have a great day, and I will catch you next time. Goodbye, friends.